Tonight we're going to be talking about picking and how to pick better, some of the common pitfalls there are with picking and with strumming. Picking, how to pick better, more efficiently, smoother, how to strum better and more efficiently and smoother with all that sort of stuff. We're also going to be talking a little bit about nylon string guitars and just the wonderful sounds that you can get out of a nylon string guitar and all of that fun stuff. But to get us started off with, I thought we would start off with a kind of an old jazz song. You know, in New York City, there's a great jazz club called Birdland. It was, I have in my notes here, it's one of the most famous jazz clubs in the world. It was opened in 1949. It was closed for a while, and then it was back open, and it's back open now in a new location, named after Charlie Parker, and it was called Birdland is the name of the jazz club there. And I think it was in 1952, is it? Yeah. They wanted to start a radio show out of there. I mean, Birdland's a famous place. Everybody's played there. Miles Davis, of course, Charlie Parker. It was one of Frank Sinatra's old hangouts in New York. Ella Fitzgerald's sung there. Stan Getz, so many people. If you were anybody in those years, you came through Birdland in New York. Well, anyway, their owner in 1952 wanted to start a radio show out of there, and they needed a theme song for it, so he contracted George Shearing, great British pianist, blind, and he contacted the great George Shearing to do their theme song for this radio show, so he came up with this song called Lullaby of Birdland. Great jazz classic. So I thought I would play that for you. It's in the key of F minor or A flat major. It's in equally in both. Times have you felt slow and sluggish in your picking? where you're just not steady with it, it's just not smooth, and it just always seems a little sluggish and awkward when you're picking. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm going to give you some tips for that. First of all, if you want to get better at picking and get better at making a smoother sound for it, we have to cover the basics. And one of the most fundamental ones is, are you holding your pick correctly? A lot of times I will see people and they will have a tendency to hold their pick with their index finger rather straight. And that is not an efficient way to get really accurate picking. Your hand just can't do that very much. So a better way to pick would be like if you've got your hand, let's say maybe you're squeezing a trigger or something like that. So you're doing this motion with your hand, not this, but you have your first finger curled up underneath it. Okay, and then I'm going to set my pick on top of it. Trying to get where you can see here. Set my pick on top of it, and then I've got my first finger just kind of sneaking out back here. Oh, maybe, I know it's difficult to get a good angle on this, maybe about a 45-degree angle there. And your first finger is just a little bit sneaking out. So not this. People have a tendency to do that with your first finger straight. We are going to curve our first finger like we're firing a squirt gun or something like that. And we're going to put our pick on top of that. And you need to have about maybe a centimeter's worth of the pick showing. That's going to help you get a little bit more of an accurate definition in your picking. So that's the first mistake I see, is a lot of folks have that first finger kind of aimed out like that, and they kind of pick a little bit more like that. It's a little, you write that way. I see what you're doing. You kind of write that way, and then you put your pick in between there. But what is a little bit more efficient, if you've put that finger, curl that first finger under, set the pick on top of the index finger, and then you have your thumb over the top of it there. And this is making a 90-degree angle there. So it's a full right angle there. Another mistake you'll see sometimes is the pick will be angled various ways. It'll be angled over here, or it'll be angled over there. You want this to be a pure right angle there when it comes over the thumb and down to the pick, with about a centimeter of it showing. So that's one of the first things, is, are you holding your pick correctly? And where the pick seems to land, at least for me, is right in this groove of your index finger, the joint right there. There's a little groove in your flesh right there. And where my pick tends to land is kind of right at that juncture of where that groove in the flesh is, at that first joint of the index finger. So holding it like this is going to get you a stronger, more secure grip on the pick, and that's going to help, especially when we're doing more faster picking. Another thought is, if I'm doing something, a general good pick for just average guitar playing, I like to use these Jim Dunlops. I'm trying to get where you could see it. This is an 88. Sometimes you can use a .76. Different picks have different flexibilities. This is a .8, so 888, so .88, so it's pretty stiff. I do have another one here that is a .60, and that is a little bit more flexible. So that's very flexible there. And if I want to get good defined picking, I don't want a pick that is just moving around on me too much, flopping around too much. If I'm doing a lot of strumming, then I might choose a thinner pick. But if I want to get a little bit more definition in my picking, I'm going to choose a pick that's a little bit less flexible. I like maybe the .88. You can also I use a little bit like I did on that jazz song. I did a little Jim Dunlop jazz pick, which you'll notice is smaller than this one. But either one, that'll do fine. And this is a heavy, so this doesn't hardly move at all. It's a 1 millimeter thick. So if I want to get some good picking, the first I can do hand or finger exercises, some picking exercises that help. Here are some of the ones that have helped me a lot. If you're up here at the 5th position and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, And I can just do that on all the strings. Because it's not just, we think that picking is only about what happens with this hand, and actually it's really more about the combination of both hands and getting both hands to work in conjunction with each other. So you can do simple exercises of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do down, up. Slow and steady. You can also do, in fact, let's put on a little bit of a metronome here. I got a drum groove. Let's see where we're at here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. I've got that drum beat going, so a normal tendency is to vary a little bit in how you're picking, vary a little bit in the tempo and the speed, and so that's what is real sensitive sometimes. So we got to try and lock in with that. Here's another one. This is like 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4 stretch. 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4 stretch. 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1. I'll do that again. 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4 street. 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 2, 1. You're just doing simple little exercises like that. Now the goal is not speed. The goal is not speed. The goal is control. So a lot of times people will try and play fast and they end up just kind of sounding and just get all out of control. The idea is control, not necessarily speed. If you have control, speeding up is rather easy to obtain. Another picking exercise I like to use is the inverse of that one I just showed you. It's 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 4, 1 stretch, 4, 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4. That simple little exercise for me, done with a metronome, started slow at 60 beats per minute, maybe quarters, and then work up your way to, gradually work your way up to eighths, gradually work your way up to sixteenths. Doing this little exercise, if you get bored, go down a half step. Let's get this going. And then I'll do the pinky, pinky, ready, go. Maybe I'll go the next string. And I'll work my way up through the different strings and I'll gradually increase the speed. So if I increase the speed a little bit, let's push that up to maybe 90. Let's go to 100. Slowly work your way up. That's the real answer to building speed and accuracy in your single note picking, is doing that kind of work. Just maybe 5-10 minutes at the beginning of your practice time. Work with a metronome. Don't just kind of do the exercise without the metronome. You got to be right on with the metronome. That way you can measure your progress and go and see how you're progressing. So that is some tips on how to pick better. Hold your pick properly. Get a pick that's the right type for your style. I would suggest something maybe around like a 0.76 or maybe a 0.88. Something that's got a little bit of stiffness to it so that you can get some real definition in your playing, and always work with a metronome. And you may think, oh, I just can't, I'm so slow, it'll never get any better. Actually, the problem that most people have, I see, is they just don't do the work. It's frustrating, slow, slogging work to do it, and most folks just avoid it, and they get frustrated after doing it for 2 days. The guy that does it for 2 weeks, 5-10 minutes a day, he's going to see some definite progress by the end of that. So that's single note picking. Let's talk about strumming now for a second. Talk about strumming. Let me move my thing back down here to about 90 beats per minute. Strumming. Let me just strum a little bit for you, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So I'll see if we can talk about getting a better strumming technique. So if I'm strumming away, so there's a little bit of strumming for you. I was never really taught strumming, so I've kind of figured out my own path with this. A lot of times folks will get a little bit too enthralled with what rhythm should I play, what strumming pattern should I play. And it's not really about the pattern. It's about the beat, the groove that you're trying to play with and to play along with. And it's not just everything at the same volume. You've got things that are louder and softer, and there's all sorts of little groove to that. Let me show you a quick exercise of how to build this into your own playing, okay? You need to think of your guitar as a percussive instrument. And let's first look at the technique of strumming. What is physically happening here is I've got a good grip on my pick. It's firm but flexible. There does need to be a little bit of flexibility in your pick. And if I took the pick out of the way, the motion with your hand is more of like a flicking water off of your hand sort of a motion. So my wrist is very flexible. My wrist is incredibly loose. And the motion for this, have you ever worked with a whip or seen anybody work with a whip? When they try and crack that whip, the movement for that doesn't start right here at the wrist. It actually starts right up here at the shoulder and then just kind of wha-pang comes out of the wrist. Same thing with like a golfer. I don't take a golf swing and just go dink. It doesn't like that. It's a whole motion that is part of it that just eventually happens out of the wrist and the hand. That's the same thing with strumming. So my wrist is actually pretty loose with it. I got a grip on my pick, but my wrist is loose. So that's the first trick, is keeping your pick in line and keeping a loose wrist. So we need to think of like our guitar as a percussion instrument. All right, so now that we've got a good grip on our pick and we've got a loose wrist, our hand is always going to be kind of going down and up. We've got a good comfortable stance over here. I'm going to put on my groove again. Okay, and I'll show you how you can build this. None of this seems silly. This is a good exercise to help you with this. Half the deal with strumming is internalizing the beat within you. It's getting that beat inside of you. Okay, so we've got this groove going. I'm just going to turn my guitar over and just do rhythms. Whatever rhythm you want. Okay, so we've got that groove going. We've kind of internalized it. Do you still feel it? That groove is still in there. Now I'm going to take my hand, still got the groove, I'm going to mute all of the strings, every string. And just improvise a strumming pattern. I can do the lower strings. I can do the higher strings. I can mix them. I can make some more accented than others. Try and do a strong downbeat on beats 2 and 4. See how I'm really whacking it going down on 2 and 4. Now this is a 16th note pattern here. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2. I can also do an 8th note pattern. Different rhythms. My hand is always going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. It's always like a piston on a car. I'm never going to tell you to do a downstroke when you're in the cycle to do an up. It's always moving. Your hand is always moving. And it's making a rather big motion. Sometimes people will start making a very small motion. Let me pause this just for a second. They'll be starting to make a very small motion with your hand. It's a big motion. Don't be afraid to make a big motion on your guitar. A lot of times I'll see people, they'll kind of have a painting sort of a motion. Don't do that. That you're moving your wrist, you're moving your hand and your pick too much. It's not a painting motion. It's almost, if you want to think about it, an arc. I'm kind of exaggerating it a little bit here, but I'm making an arc when I'm strumming. And I'm hitting, let's say my chord is a G chord, so I'm hitting all 6 strings when I go down, and then I just hit some of them coming up. If I hit a 5-string chord, a C, I'm accurate going down, and then hit some of them coming up. D. So don't worry about being accurate as on the up strum. It just doesn't work like that. So a lot of folks kind of get stressed out about that. Don't worry about that. You just hit some of them coming back up again. So let's mute our hands, mute our strings, get this going. Maybe an 8th note pattern. Okay, now I want you to take your fingers off your strings just to where the 6th string will ring. I can do my 16th note strum. So I've just got my fingers down just a little bit so where the 6th string is ringing. Now what if I did maybe an E minor chord? So I can kind of hit the low, I can hit the high, I can mix it. Play another game. We're going to stop. 2, 3, 4, stop. Now we're going to start, again, end. Let's practice starting and stopping again. A 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. Start, again, end. Change chords. We kind of have a tendency to focus on the chords, but realize for strumming, the most important thing is this rhythm. But Steve, which rhythm is right? It doesn't matter as long as you're in the groove. The most important thing is that you're in the groove of what's going on. So I would encourage you to do that simple little exercise. You can just turn on a metronome. I have my little metronome there. I'm using an app called Drum Genius, and it actually has kind of more of a drum. This is one of their rock patterns. It's the first one, and it has more of a drum, real drums sounding than just kind of a metronome drum beat, so I like that better. And try and internalize the beat. That's kind of the main thing. And if you're not sure you're doing it right, go back to treating your instrument like a percussion instrument. Mute your strings. See how I'm getting some accents in there? Another thing I can do, one last thing with strumming, is I can add these percussive elements as kind of pops and clicks along the way. So I'm adding these sort of pops and clicks, and that really is helpful for singers to kind of feel where that rhythm is. The road to walk down is treat your instrument like a percussion instrument. Don't be afraid to make a big motion and a big sound off your instrument. Sometimes we'll strum way too light. And it just doesn't work when you have it strummed too light. You just can't get the right kind of sound out of the strum. Make a bigger motion, make a bigger sound. It's okay to hit your instrument strongly. Your instrument will take it. And then internalize that beat, work with different rhythms, different tempos, and you'll find that your strumming will settle out quite a bit better than it currently is. So I hope those ideas help. Another good exercise for strumming is to pick a chord and hit the different notes on each string. Good picking exercise for that. Jeff is asking, Steve, do I have a comment on strumming the strings straight down, perpendicular to the strings, rather than dragging in an arc diagonally across the strings? I'm doing, if you could follow my motion of my pick, I'm creating a little bit of a diagonal. I'm not going straight down like that, because in order to do a string, I mean, you got to think I'm attached right here, so I'm naturally going to have a, just like a compass or something like that. It's gonna naturally create an arc. So there's gonna be a little bit of a diagonal right there. See how it's kind of making a diagonal? And I'm not really hitting my pick exactly straight on the string either. I'm kind of digging into it, just maybe 15 degrees or something. I'm not doing that or anything, but I am just kind of digging into that one side of the pick a little bit stronger. And that seems to give me a little bit more definition in my strumming. Anne is saying, helps, but we'll need to watch a few times. Having a hard time using the pick. Yeah, it's a good, I like fingerstyle. I do a lot of fingerstyle, but it's helpful for me to use a pick and just to make sure I still have that capability. Do I change picks according to the style of music that you're playing? Neil is asking. Good observation. If I would, let's say I'm doing a night where I'm playing a lot of strumming and I'm not really doing any single note stuff, then I might choose a lighter pick, just because it's not fighting me back as much. Now a lighter pick's going to give you a little bit of a smaller sound, but it's not going to fight you back as much as a thicker pick would. If I know I'm going to be doing a lot of strumming, I definitely don't want a big, heavy 1 millimeter type pick. That'll just kill me. You need something with a little bit more flexibility when you're doing that. I wish I could tell you that just watching a little video for 5 minutes makes you a better player. You kidding? I see about 100 of those a day on Instagram and stuff like that. I'm a guitar player, so my feed is just cluttered with somebody showing their favorite lick, and it's all really good information. But you know what I do? I scroll right past it and go to the next one. You know what I do after that one? I scroll right past it and I go to the next one. So after a while, I've sat And 50 of those things have come by, and you know what? I haven't learned a thing. Not one thing has changed in my playing for having to do that. What actually changes in my playing is me getting up every morning, which I do every morning. I get up, first thing I do, I walk upstairs and I practice guitar. That will change you. Even if it's just practicing for 5 or 10 minutes, you will get further down the road every day, doing it every day, than, practicing 3 hours on the weekend. So consistency is more helpful. I know I'm going to hit guitars here. Is more helpful than a quantity of time. I want to take a minute and let you know I do have some picking exercises that we have done. The speed and agility fretboard workouts, and we've got all kinds of series on chords and jazz chords and money chords and things like that. And we've got those. The speed and agility one, that's been our most popular one, and it's got 3 different workouts. It will take you from a sloppy picking into rock solid picking, and it even gets up as high as 16th notes at 120 beats per minute. And I don't just tell you about the exercise, we physically do them with you. And we've currently got those on sale for the next week. If you just type in the promo code LEARN, LEARN, all caps, you can get any of the training videos for 25% off. So if you're interested in any of the training videos that we have, just for like the next week, we haven't done a sale, and gosh, I think it's been over a year that we've done a sale. And so if you want, I put them on sale there. If you want it, if any of our training videos, and the speed and agility one is the one that's going to help you with picking and those sorts of issues, they're all 25% off, but you got to use the promo code LEARN, all capitalized. Patricia is asking, what drum beat did I use in the Drum Genius? I was using their Rock 01. Just downloaded it, and the first is, it goes by style, so you picked Afro-Cuban because that's A, but if you scroll down to rock, I just used the one on the first rock one there. So there you go. I wanted to talk for just a minute about nylon string guitars. Let me get this tuned up here a little bit. I changed strings on a nylon. Nylon string guitars are a different animal than steel strings, but they are so warm and rich. I love them. I have gotten more recording work here in Nashville playing nylon string than I have on electric or acoustic. The beautiful sounds you can get off a nylon string guitar. Okay, so let's cover the basics. The nylon string guitar is tuned like a regular guitar. Its neck is wider. Its neck, you'll notice, is it's a little bit wider than a steel string neck. It's a 2-inch neck, and a steel string is 1 inch and 7/8, so it is a little bit wider. It's got, not all the strings are nylon, just the top 3, the first, second, and third, are made out of nylon. The bottom 3 strings are a piece of wire wrapped around a piece of silk or a thread, something like that. These have a steel core on the steel strings. These have a steel core. These do not. These have a fabric thread as a core. So if you take these off the guitar, they just flop. And that kind of gives them their soft sound. I use extra hard tension on these. I've used Diodarios. I've used all kinds of different types of strings on these. These last a good long time, much longer than steel strings. And I just love the sound that you can get with it. You know, if you do sixths is one thing that I noticed that early on that sound particularly good on nylon string guitar. So just a simple thing like sixth. Suddenly I put them on this guitar, make them, you know, kind of milk them a little bit. will sixths sound particularly good on guitar? You know, I listened to a lot of Earl Klugh, and when I was growing up, and just beautiful nylon string work. You know, his I was listening to his project Night Guitar the other day, and he did Smoke Gets in Your Eyes. That is probably one of the most brilliant guitar playing songs I have ever heard in my entire life. It is just impeccable and glorious on nylon string guitar. So, things that work great on nylon string guitar, of course, are Latin stuff. Sounds great on a nylon string guitar. Of course, classical sounds great on nylon string guitar. It's a wonderful guitar to have in your arsenal of playing. I love it. I tell you, if I was stranded on a desert island, I would probably prefer having this guitar with me because it is just so expressive, and I just love how it sounds. You can do fingerstyle stuff on it. You can do, when I use it with a pick, like that one track there, I use a very thick, this is a 3mm stubby pick. I don't know whether y'all can see that, but it's a very thick pick, and that sounds particularly good on this one. So when I do need to use a pick on it, I will use one of these big, thick, stubby picks. But most of the time I'm just using my hand. So I'd encourage you, if you haven't really messed around with a nylon string guitar, wow, it is a beautiful animal, and I just love the sounds that you can get out of it. I did a recording session long ago. Barbara Mandrell was producing it, and it was for Christy Sutherland, I believe was her name. And my friend Dino Paston, who I had lunch with today, he had booked me for this. And, you know, I brought in all of my stuff, but what they wanted was the nylon string guitar. So I brought my nylon string guitar, and I just, you know, here they've got all this band and the whole stuff, and all I do is come in here and I do some like do some little sixth lick, and I hear from behind the console, yes, that's it, that's the sound that we want. It's like, why do I even bother buying pedals and worrying about electric when all anybody wants to hear is sixths on a nylon string guitar? It's just a really beautiful sound. And so anyway, it was a great session, and that was all on nylon string guitar. So if you haven't played with a nylon string, I encourage you to experiment with it a little bit. Big Steve is asking, how come you use a pick instead of your fingers when playing a classical guitar? Well, I don't all the time. Most of the time I'm just using my fingers. But if I'm doing a single note thing like that, where I'm doing kind of a jazz thing, sometimes it's helpful to do use a pick on it rather than your fingers, just so I can get the kind of the single note line a little bit better. But usually I'm using just my hands. It's just beautiful, beautiful. So if you haven't really experimented around with a nylon string guitar, I would encourage you to do so. It's very easy to play. It doesn't, the strings, since they are not steel strings, they're easy to push down. Now the action is a little higher on a nylon string guitar than it is on a steel string, but the strings are much more flexible. It also gives you much more space between the strings. So a lot of times if you're having problems with your fingers fitting between the strings, a nylon string, or at least a classical guitar width guitar is going to be better for you. So there you go. Bus Dude is saying decent quality nylon string guitar brands. Well, the Cordobas are great, which is kind of the Guitar Center house brand. But like any acoustic instrument, don't buy an acoustic instrument without getting your hands on it. Because, this one may sound great, and the one that came right off of the line right behind it doesn't sound so good. It has to do with so many things. The wood, the humidity that day when they cut it down in the forest, all kinds of things have to do it. So if you find one that really starts speaking to you, then I would encourage you to buy that. This is not an expensive guitar. I bought this guitar for $200 the week before I had to go to college because we needed a classical guitar, and I thought I'm never going to use this classical guitar. And so this is a $200 guitar. I think the pickup I put in it, it costs more than the guitar. And like I said, I've gotten more work from this guitar. Work, like pay my bills kind of work from this guitar than I have on any other instrument. So Patricia is asking, do I ever use those individual finger picks that fit on each finger? The short answer is no. I have never done that. I'm not saying anything against it. I've know some guys that do use that. I have not used that, and I've piddled around with them, but I haven't found any success with being able to get a decent sound on that. I grow out my nails a little bit, not too much, probably about an eighth of an inch maybe on my thumb, and about a 16th of an inch on my first, second, and third fingers, and that's just enough for me to get a little bit of flesh and nail combination when I'm doing steel string or nylon string. So let me put this away for a second, and then I will play us out with another song. We've got our fall fingerstyle retreat coming up, and we've got the reigning fingerstyle champion Stephen Bennett is going to be with us. Gareth Pearson, who was with us actually last week when I was helping train these band directors. Gareth graciously popped in the chat for 15 minutes and really surprised and blew these music educators away. It was great. Alan Shamblin also popped in there. So Gareth is going to be with us for the fingerstyle retreat. Clive Carroll, who I'm excited to introduce to you guys, arguably one of the best fingerstyle players I've ever heard in my life. I've been trying to get him here for 3 or 4 years, and this is the first year it's worked out. So Clive Carroll's going to be with us. We've got 5 spots left. Fingerstyleretreat.com. If you're interested, it sells out every year, and we only have 5 slots left. If you're interested, then please check it out and lock your spot in there. Randy is saying, how about strumming on nylon? I don't do a lot of strumming on nylon. I use it mostly for fingerstyle stuff, but some people do a little bit more strumming on it. It doesn't work, especially with the pick. It doesn't sound good at all. Pick doesn't sound good at all strumming on a nylon. But a lot of times they will use their fingers to strum on the nylon, and that works a little bit more stylistically correct with that. There you go. If you're interested in the training videos, like I said, we've got a sale on that, 25% off on any of the training videos. If you're interested in that, you have to type in the promo code LEARN, LEARN, all caps, and that sale will be up for about another week, and then we're going to take that down. All right. I wanted to encourage you just for a second as we kind of close here. I had lunch with 2 legends today. 2 legends. Rick Kua, amazing musician and just a fantastic man who I've learned so much from. He plays with the Blues Council and just, so many legendary players out of that. And then, of course, our good friend Dino Paston, who's recovering from a stroke, but he's getting better all the time. And we had lunch with Rick and Dino today. It was just amazing. And I was just thinking as I was listening to these wonderful men talk that, even if life knocks you down with, physical challenges or age or whatever, you know, your music matters. Your music matters. The fact that you're trying to learn an instrument matters. It's important. You know, scrolling for 3 hours doesn't matter. Scrolling on your phone for a couple hours doesn't matter. But what does matter is trying to get the music that's inside of you out. That does matter. And other people watch you trying to learn, and it gives them hope and gives you joy in learning. So learn to enjoy the journey with all that stuff. And you know, it's not about being the best. You know who's one of my, I don't have very many private students that I actually teach by Zoom. If you're interested in that, let me know. I can probably see about fitting you in. But one of the ones that I have right now, Lauren is his name, Loren. And Lauren is currently at the Mayo Clinic in Florida. He's been waiting for weeks to receive a heart transplant. And he just received a heart transplant 2 days ago. And he takes lessons from me. He wants to learn how to create. Now, what is that? You know, he made it through the heart transplant surgery. He's doing better. He's recovering fine. It's going to be a long road to recovery. But you know, he's a musician, and he wants to play music, and he wants to get that out. I think God put that in us to try and make music. I was listening to a quote by Paul McCartney today, saying, "What is it about frequencies and music that moves the heart of men?" It was just a fascinating conversation. I'll see if I can get that link and put it up on our discussion board and in our social media stuff. But anyway, wanted to thank our moderator, Neil. Thank you for filling in for Diane. My wonderful producer, my lovely wife, Paulette, is producing tonight. And I was just so happy being with Dino and with Rick Kua today, that I thought, even in the midst of both of them that are having health struggles and things like that, how they're still just full of hope and full of joy. So I thought what a great world it is. So I thought I'd play What a Wonderful World. Have a good rest of the week, everybody. Keep up the great work in your learning. Try and play your guitar every day. That will be a blessing to you, and it'll help you learn. If I can help you out with anything along the way, we'll have a live lesson next week, so you can get back in touch with us then. Take care, and we will see you guys next time.